Okay folks, today I want to attempt to show you first light with this thing. I've had some mishaps with this. The first time I connected it up, I connected both of these. I didn't have both of these connected across the output of the IGBTs and blew the MOSFETs. I only had one. I had them both connected into the same terminal block, so they weren't connected. Blew the MOSFETs, blew the diode, blew the fuse. I had to replace everything. The second time I did it, I did not turn on the, what I did is I turned them both on at the same time. I turned this on, the gate driver, and I turned that on at the same time, and for whatever reason, it blew it. But I think you have to probably turn the gate driver on first, then crank up the voltage slowly. And what I did is I had them both plugged right into the 120 volts out and turned them both on at the same time, and all I saw was a bunch of sparks shooting out of there. Blew the diode on the power supply, blew one of the IGBTs, blew the fuse, and blew that fuse too. So everything needed to be redone again, and it has to be resoldered because it's hard to take those out by just flipping these little clips. You have to like unsolder the whole terminal block. I mean the whole heat sink, and then redo the whole thing. So now this is attempt number 3. Put new IGBTs in, and actually put different ones in this time. And I'm using a variac, which I'd forgotten to do a couple of times. I'm making sure that both of these, I actually reduced the thickness of the wires to 14 gauge solid wire before. Now I've switched it to 16 gauge stranded wire. Make sure these are connected. I've put TVS diodes across the collectors and emitters, and across the base and emitters, so got some protection. I found these diodes were shunting on the prior attempts and blowing up. So, at least I know I'm saving my IGBTs, or attempting to. So anyway, I've got a little screwdriver up there. I got this thing running, so this is on first. The gate driver's on first. And I'm going to turn down the lights so we can get to see this better. The lights are turned down. I'm going to look for first light now, and I haven't been able to successfully do that. Now I'm turning up the variac. Okay, I've got first light. I'm running it at about 36 volts going in, and I'm seeing some first light, so this is a good sign. And I'm going to up the voltage a little bit more. I'm going to up it to 60 volts, which should be 120 volts out of the power supply, so let's see what that does. There we go. First light. Already smell some ozone. I'm going to turn this down. Actually, I'll turn it back up to 60. Play with some of the seems to be working so far, and I can change the pulse width, and I can change the frequency, lower frequency. Smaller pulse width, greater pulse width. Okay, I'm operating around 60 volts. Now I'm at about 72 volts. I'm going to increase to 84 volts, see what that does. about 95 volts. "95 volts blew something," so we'll find out what it blew. Well, these MOSFETs just warm, so I know that they were not overheating. Now we'll find out what exactly blew at 95 volts. So folks, the good news is I did see first light with this setup. The bad news is I couldn't push it beyond 95 volts without something blowing, and it turns out, I just looked at what was blown, and it turns out my diodes on my power supply are fine, so I'm going to put those back in. The TVS diodes across the collector and emitter of these transistors, of these transistors that were completely blown. They're conducting both ways, so those have had it. And the core setup that I had, which was on a 4.3, 4.5 inch disc here, that's not going to work. That had 6 turns on it, and I tried moving it up and down, and it's blown these diodes and transistors in both cases. So I think that I'm going to have to go to something that's much closer wound to the coil. And what I'm going to use is this. This fits fairly snugly on there and should insulate it from any flashovers. So I'm going to use this and wind the same wire around it and see if I can get a better result with that. Anyway, that's the result so far. So I'm going to, I've also blown the fuse in the rheostat, variac, and this fuse is okay for this. I'm going to put these back, and we're going to try again. It looks like the transistors were fine. They were protected by the TVSs, so those are fine, and we'll see what happens. Okay, I've redone it. What I've done is I just basically got rid of that wide spacer, that basically 4.5 inch spacer, and then just put the wire directly around the base of the coil. There's actually 7 turns now. There were 6 when it was on this, and just plugged it in, connected the base of the coil to ground, and I've got a little receiving antenna to test it, and we're going to try for that first light again. Let's see what this does. I had to replace the TVS diodes, resoldered those other diodes, there's MUR 460s back on, because there was nothing wrong with them, and got the box open, so there's going to be a lot of EMF getting into that box, HF signal getting in there, so it may mess it up. But anyway, let's try this. Okay, I've got the pulse driver, gate driver circuit on, and both the LEDs are flashing, showing that I'm getting pulses going to the MOSFETs. And now I'm going to use a variac again. I replaced the fuse in the variac. There was a 6 amp fuse in that had blown. Let's try it out. I'm going to slowly go up. Here we are, get the first light. I'm at about 36 volts. I'm scared to push it up because I'm going to replace everything, so I'm going to take my time about pushing this up. There you go. So it's a compact one, real small. Like a tabletop. Okay, what I've done now is I've put everything into an aluminum box as originally planned. There's the 7 turns of 16 gauge stranded wire at the base. I've screwed the toroid on to the top of the secondary so there's a good contact. I put a little neo magnet and a screwdriver on top as a breakout point, and we'll test it now with a box. And I've replaced the feedback wire with some slightly thicker wire because the thin red wire was flopping all over the place. So we'll see how this goes. I'm just going to crank up. I'm at 0 volts now on my power supply. I'm going to increase this slowly, this variac. Okay, right now I'm at 24 volts on the variac, and I'm getting some breakout. There's 24 volts. I'm going to crank it up to 36 volts. Now we're at 48 volts. So there you are. I'm going to play around with how much I can put through it. Right now I don't want to plug it directly into the mains for fear of blowing the diodes or the IBGT skin. So we just keep it operating a low voltage for now, but seems to work pretty well. Let me get a little fluorescent tube, see if we can light that up. Here's a fluorescent tube. It's lighting that up pretty brightly even on that low setting, even at a distance. It's a lot of electromagnetic radiation, even at quite a distance. When I crank it up, it will light even more. Thanks for watching. Keep updated on how this thing works as I put more power and voltage into it.